Richardson here, and we'll get going.
God, thanks for letting us gather tonight as a town council and as staff and citizens of our community. Thank you for letting us live in a free place, a good place, a great place to raise a family and run a business. Father, give us wisdom tonight and let us speak truthfully and honor you in all we say and do. In Christ's name I pray.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Did Graham say he was going to make it?
Yes, sir.
He just running late?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Must be running late.
No problem. All right, no public comments. We'll get to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or want to go over any of them? I did ask Alex and Kevin to talk a little bit about the microsurfacing contract E, but does anybody have any questions about A, B, C, or D? All right, I'll turn it over to Alex and Kevin. Thank you.
Evening, council. Hopefully everybody had a good holiday season. Yeah, and Mayor, I believe your question was basically associated with how we select the roads for specific treatments.
Well, I know how you do it, but for the record, because that's the number one question, or not the number one, but I get it a lot.
Sure.
So I try to explain it to them, but if somebody's listening to this meeting, they'll hear you.
Sure, no, absolutely. So ultimately what we do is we have a software that we contracted out, and we have a consultant come in and grade all of our roads throughout the town. And this is supposed to be done every 5 years, and that is coming up in this next budget season. FY 2026 will be the 5th year since we've done it, since FY 2021. And what these grades that these roads are assigned are called PCI values, and that stands for Pavement Condition Index, and truly is exactly what it sounds. It's a condition of the pavement on each of these roadways and roadway segments. So it looks at the distresses, the types of the distresses, and the severity of the distresses, and then recommends maintenance techniques for remedying these distresses on these roadways. And so we use this software to help us budget, and it spits out every single fiscal year recommended road segments and recommended maintenance techniques for each of these road segments. Now, we don't just leave it at that. Every single year, we take these recommendations and we personally go out and drive each road, look at these distresses, and for instance, say there's a pothole that's really bringing the PCI value of that roadway segment down, but it just needs to be patched. That would significantly improve the PCI value for that road. So we look at things like that, where does the whole road need to be addressed, or just smaller patching, and then kind of manipulate the resurfacing list from that standpoint as well. And then this microsurfacing contract, this is something that we've been working to incorporate. We just incorporated it this fiscal year. We did the pilot run on it and it was successful, but this is more preventative maintenance. So this is essentially, 5-ish years ago, we came in, we resurfaced, and there's some wear and tear on the roads, but nothing severe enough to where we need to do our milling and overlay. So this is a pavement preservation that is just emulsified asphalt that we apply to the top. It's just a small 1/4-inch surface layer of asphalt that really binds the roadway back together, and it really acts as a sealant to prolong the life of that road, and is essentially 6 times cheaper than the standard milling and overlay techniques as well. So we also look at volume of roads as well and how much use they get. So if a cul-de-sac is rated poorly, we'll deprioritize that for a more artery of a subdivision street. And so that's in general how we approach these.
Is this the same technique we used in Shanamara on Kidwelly?
That was our standard milling and overlay, not the microsurfacing. Yeah, so that was a repair. Yeah, but what we use this back here in Community Park, back in September, I believe, is when we completed that project. So if you want a prime example, we did it right back here behind Town Hall, so it was a success.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Anybody have any questions? All right.
Mayor, I'll make a motion
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
to approve the consent agenda.
All right, motion by Mr. Richardson to approve the consent agenda, second by Mr. Shoal. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, thank you. All righty, reports from the mayor. So I forgot to, I hope everybody had a great Christmas and a blessed and safe one and no sickness, but I hope you did. Crestwind, the 55 and older community that's out on Rocky Hill Church Road. That's not a part of, not connected to Stallings. I think everybody's aware of it. That, you know, they came. They had their community meeting. They had about 50 people show up. They all were not in my backyard types. And they had a lot of questions. And so the lady did a pretty good job, fair job of explaining the program. But two things, let y'all know what she said. She must have said it 3 times that they will not be annexed by anybody. They're not interested in it. I don't know if she was speaking to those 50 people, because Kevin Presley, who's involved in that project, says, you know, they still want to do it. But so it's a voluntary. If they come to us, we'll address it. If not, it's what it is. But
So she lives where? In the parcel that's not in the town?
no,
We will not be annexed.
no, the lady that was with Coulter Homes that's developing it.
Oh, with Colt, okay,
Yeah, it's the VP.
Okay.
She was the one that made the presentation,
okay,
and
got
she
it.
was asked several times, you know, with Fairview. Voluntary, so we'll see what happens, but the point I made to her says, well, you know, what's gonna happen if you don't become annexed is, have same thing happen at Emerald Lake and Shantamara before we got annexed. Probably have a dump truck, or a garbage truck in your neighborhood every week, every day. And everybody's gonna choose their own provider. You know, you go with us, one day a week, it's gonna be in there. Now, on the stormwater wastewater treatment plant, she didn't have any photographs because they didn't have PowerPoint in the Henry Bridge. Kevin's going to bring us back a presentation, first meeting in February. It's totally different than what's in Old Sycamore and Country Woods East. The whole the unit is buried. The only thing you'll see is the flat manhole covers that are providing air or some type of irrigation to the wastewater treatment plant. So it's not an above ground thing that you ride by and see some monster looking thing that's unsightly. So we'll see what it looks like. Second thing is, you know, Kevin told me these were gonna be $1 million homes, and they're 1,400 square feet to 2,700 square feet. So the price point, top range is 800,000, which is still nice, you know, pretty penny for a 2,700 square foot house, but it's not $1 million home. So we'll see. I mean, Alex was there. Alex and Graham were there, as well as
Just like that, Graham.
who was that? The guy from Union County again? What's his name?
Bjorn Hansen, he's
Bjorn.
the senior planner.
Yeah, and he's the one doing all the legwork right now. So, Graham, I was just giving them an update on the Crestwind community meeting. If you want to add anything, Alex, did you want to add anything? So, okay. All righty. Well, I'll start on this end then. Brad, you got anything for us? No, sir. David?
Relatively quiet start to the year. I had a Central Iowa Executive Board meeting last week, and this afternoon I had a Central Iowa Foundation trustee meeting, and getting things rolling for the upcoming year. That's it.
Okay. Stephen? No, sir. All right. Lori?
No.
All right. Graham? Yes, sir. All right. Alex, I'll turn it over to you then.
Thank you, Mayor, and Happy New Year formally to everyone. Got 5 reports, 4 of them are short, and then one of them is the priority report, which will be a bit longer. So first, at your seat, you'll see our routine monthly budget line transfer reports. These are the budget transfers for intra-departmental transfers that we have the authority to do on a staff level. If you have any questions, please let us know. We always want to be fully transparent in everything we do, especially when it comes to finances. Secondly, want to report what y'all already know, but do it formally in a town council setting. We've had our Employee of the Year chosen. It's Miss Tori Crow. So great job by Tori. Well done. I could take up the whole meeting talking great about Tori. And then our Officer of the Year was Brandon Johnson. So again, well deserved. Great job, Brandon. Great job, Tori. Next, you'll notice all the 50th anniversary items, both in the town's physical spaces as well as in our electronic spaces. So I want to recognize Aaron as well as Eunice for their hard work in creating a brand and promoting that. We're excited to kick off the 50th anniversary of the town of Stallings. Next, I also want to note, I've talked to everyone, I think we're all comfortable with changing the budget retreat meeting from January the 21st, which is a Tuesday right after MLK Day, to Thursday, January 23rd. I know, Stephen, you've got to stop at 7 o'clock, and I know, Graham, you said 5:30 is the earliest you could start. So what I know, Mayor, you're also getting off a plane that day. So what I would recommend is starting that day at 5:30 on the 23rd, if there are no objections. And unless there are any objections, we'd like to move back when we get y'all some information in preparation for that meeting. It should be the same amount of time in between the meetings, but it'll give us a little bit of time to kind of fine tune a couple things, make it extra good for you before it gets to you.
Well, I appreciate y'all moving it, and I apologize for being out of town, but the way it goes. But thank y'all for being flexible, and if we need to meet, we don't have enough time. We don't cover all the things. Kurt, don't want to overburden you with time and things, so, but I appreciate your willingness to move it. More than happy to. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Mayor. And finally, may I have that mouse, Ms. Nichols? Thank you. Mouse, yep, thank you. So let's go over the priorities. So each year, and what we're gearing up to do here shortly, and Mr. Walton will be contacting y'all to have conversations. So if you have time, it'd be a great help for us to have a conversation with Kurt and really get a great understanding to lay the groundwork for a great annual retreat in February. So let's look back at what we did. And I think whenever you set goals, it's helpful to go and check back and see how are we doing. And so this has become a matter of routine for us and checking once in mid-year. So you can see here our goals are in black text and our update is in red text. For the sake of time, I'm going to give a brief overview. And if we'd like to talk more about any of these items, please stop me. So we created several different categories, 5 different categories that is, and created a range of goals underneath them. The first category was focus on long-range financial planning. The board really wanted to make sure that we were making financial decisions and looking more long-range than just budget year to budget year. And so we wanted to, of course, focus on managing the 2-3 budgets. So that entailed, creating a more elaborate budget process. We did that, and then continuing to follow in our processes with capital improvement plans, holding an occupancy tax. We also wanted to say, all right, when it comes to budgeting, we need to make sure that we're doing a good job with controlling, managing expenditures. When you're spending public money, it's not just spending, it's an investment. Everything we need to do when we spend tax dollars, it needs to be an investment. And so that's what this category is about, ensuring that our spending and our investments are sound. So obviously we wanted to do a pay study and not just look at salaries, but I know the board wanted to look at everything, benefits, and kind of take a more holistic approach. And so that's underway. I'm hopeful that it'll be done and we'll be able to present that to you at our next meeting in January or early February. Same thing, we wanted to make sure that when we have these super high inflationary years, it doesn't wreck the budget. So we're owe you a policy of bringing of capping CPI increases to the board And the due date on that was December 31st, but we purposely withheld it because we felt that was a good thing to share with y'all at the same time as the pay study results. We continue to work on a functional performance pay policy. That's going well as we're on track to get y'all before the end of the year an employee cost savings incentive program. Moving on here, we wanted to focus parks, events, and program primarily, on Stallings residents. And our Parks Department is going to be presenting y'all with a report on the strategy moving forward on that later in this meeting. One of the big things we talked about was sewer capacity and how important sewer is for economic development. A lot of the board's priorities have been economic development related, certainly. So we continue to fund our study with Kimley Horn, as well as working with Charlotte Water. Long story short, with Charlotte Water, the Charlotte Water doesn't have capacity for where we want to get sewer from them, specifically in the Crooked Creek area. And we met with Union County, as you all know, myself and the mayor and staff, and just tried to get a better understanding from them and where they're at sewer capacity. I'd asked Mr. Parker and Mayor to correct me where I'm wrong, and Mr. Richardson joined remotely as well, is that there's going to be some moderate increases in capacity in the 12-mile creek areas, which think of that like the ends of the town, really. But the area where we were really focused in, the Crooked Creek service area, that's kind of the middle of the town. Think a good bit, but not all of town center, the hospital area, Union West Business Park, the area where I believe we were focusing a lot of our economic development areas. That capacity is very limited, and my understanding is there's not a long-term plan to add additional capacity once that runs out. So there's going to be a decision point, an action item for the board to consider there. Certainly not pressing you to make a decision right now, but what are our next steps with sewer? Do we want to continue to work with Union County? There may be an opportunity, in theory, to take some of the capacity at 12 Mile Creek and potentially reroute some of the capacity from Crooked Creek into the 12 Mile Creek areas, but that would probably take some additional engineering work in order to evaluate that. So again, no decision needs to be made tonight. That's something for y'all to consider. Is that something that we want to pursue? Let's see. So
Only other comment was, I think, Alex has probably talked to Max about this, is their recommendation was to our people who want to develop in Stallings is you put your application in now.
one important, that's a great point, Mayor. Thank you for adding that. One thing, another notable item I'd add too that I heard that was good confirmation for me is that not for the surrounding development, when it comes to the hospital, a second expansion of the hospital, it sounded like there was sewer capacity for that. So that was good news. Ma'am.
You said Charlotte Water doesn't have capacity, so we worked with them for several months, so we're done with that?
Yes, ma'am. I'd say for the foreseeable future. There's just not capacity. Now, we're going to continue to stay in touch to monitor their situation. I think that we opened their eyes to some of their capacity issues in certain areas in the southern part of Mecklenburg County. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them to start to add capital improvement plan projects to that area. And when they do that, there might be some added capacity that we may be able to take advantage of. So I don't think that our process was fruitless. I think there could potentially be some options in the future, but nothing is imminent, and it's something we're going to monitor.
Kind of keep in with that theme, if you don't mind. I mean,
Sure.
when we start talking about this year, some of the times that we're talking about is 10, 20 years. I mean, if they think that they're going to it seems like to me Mecklenburg County moves a little faster than Union County. I mean, does it behoove us to think about it as we've got a fair amount of infrastructure that would need to be put in place before we could even hook up to their capacity? That there's a timeline where their extra capacity and that engineering that would have to go on to get to that extra capacity could be kind of in sync. Because based off of what you said, it sounds like we're not getting any sizable sewer capacity in our downtown area or the hospital area. Anytime there's no plan, as you said, that seems to me to be a little imminent. I mean, as far as a no starter for a lot of our plans. So, I don't know.
Mr. Parker, anything you want to add to any of that? Okay. So just think on that. Let us know if we want to explore that with Union County anymore and the potential of doing some exploring from an engineering perspective on potentially seeing if we can reroute some of the Crooked Creek capacity into the 12 Mile Creek. That seems, you know, like the most readily available short-term potentially path to explore. But you're right, long-term, there's an issue. I suspect what we'll probably see is more and more developers trying to ask the local governments in Union County to consider things like private wastewater treatment options.
Based off the news, it seems like a lot of our local development is starting to almost abandon Union County based off of what you've seen in Gaston, Iredell, and other counties. So that's my biggest concern, is that we kind of get stagnant and we become kind of backwater, if you will, because we don't have any growth going on. You either grow or die is what I've always heard. So I don't know. That's my concern.
All right, before we keep moving, any other questions or thoughts? All right. So next, one of the big focus areas was supporting and enhancing Union West Business Park, both supporting our existing businesses and also fostering a fertile area for a growth of existing and new businesses at the Union West Business Park. Tremendous opportunity, tremendous growth potential. And so one of the things we did is we've created some text amendment changes to try to enhance the kind of development that we want to see eventually and support existing development. So thank you to Mr. Shong and his team for their work there, as well as we've identified several council members. I believe it was our Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilmember Richardson, to advocate for the Union West Business Park in the future when it comes to road improvements and potential property annexation, specifically in regards to the General Assembly, as well as the Economic Development Committee. And I know the Economic Development Committee has been actively engaged. Councilmember Richardson, Mayor Pro Tem Scholl, is there anything you'd like to add from that perspective?
No, not yet.
And then finally, pursue town center creation. So one of the things that we wanted to do first is to start thinking of it as a town center, not necessarily a downtown. A downtown might create a certain vision, and really what we're trying to do is kind of a town center. And so that starts with using the right words, using the right nomenclature, and then from there, there's a number of things that we wanted to do, focus on where we have any density, doing it in our core, in our town center, as well as, working with DFI through the school government when it comes to any private developer, but really our sewer capacity issues are limiting us there. Next, one success story is our town center streetscape requirements. We've created them, and we have put them into our development standards as a requirement. So when development happens, there needs to be a streetscape that's developed, that's uniform and consistent and logical across our town center area. So again, Mr. Shong, we credit you and your team for your work there. And then from there, we talked about sewer alternatives, and our Parks Department has been hard at work, just really throwing some incredible events and programming, around 38 events. And this is the coolest stat to me, is over 18,000 attendees across those events. So I can't tell you every time I go to a Parks event how much positive feedback I get. Obviously, there's always room for improvement, but our Parks team really is doing a good job there. Finally, another part of the town center efforts are the Old Monroe Road 2725 building. So due to the sewer limitations, instead of knocking everything down and kind of fully redeveloping it, that might not be possible, both due to sewer limitations and financial limitations. And so what we're looking at right now, what we've been working on, is a more short to interim term use over there that can kind of try to create a town center vibe with the existing infrastructure. And what we're obviously in the middle of right now is bringing a brewery, Armored Cow Brewery, into that space. And right now, the brewery is should be here tomorrow, I believe, to finalize some numbers for the upfit, HVAC. Obviously, if you've ever dealt with a contractor, you know how long that could take. But that's important because we need those upfit numbers so we can give those to Melanie to work on the lease to get them in there. And that'll be important so we can make sure legally we're charging the right amount and getting fair value in accordance with the law.
Andy coming from Armored Cow, or is it their developer or representative?
I'm not sure who's coming. We were just told that they were.
Oh, okay.
And then from there, the other thing was maximizing the development around the hospital and the light rail area.
Oh,
Really,
Alex, I had one
Yes, sir.
question before we get off town center. I'm
course.
sorry.
No
The
problem.
3P timeline, obviously, work has begun. Have they told us, what's the timeline on that? Does anybody know?
I believe it's around 24 months from start to completion. Is that right?
Or, excuse me, May 26th is when it's supposed to be.
May of 26. Okay, thank you.
And I imagine it might be substantially, it might appear to the public as complete before then. That just might be the final completion, if you will. Thank you for asking that. I'm sure folks watching might be wondering that. So going back to investing in the hospital and light rail, again, using those as the twin anchors of that area from an economic development perspective. So we are in the process right now of going through the approval process for the transit overlay district. So you've got that information, and our planning team will be bringing that back to you in the coming months. And finally, ensuring Atrium can participate as a stakeholder in that process, which we've certainly done. And that concludes the priorities. I believe overall we're moving in the right direction. We've got some challenges moving forward, but we're still moving in the right direction and being effective in what we do. So that concludes my report. Thank you for listening.
All righty. Thank you, Alex, for all the details.
Yeah, it's good.
Any questions for Alex? Kurt, do you have any comments that you wanted to make or anything? Thank you, Alex and staff, for putting all that numbers and data together. Next up, any report from Chief? Eunice, anything?
Can I ask Chief a question?
Be right up there.
Okay. Oh, that's right, you're on the agenda here. Yeah, sure.
Chief, do you have insight as to the two house fires at all? Pretty unusual to have two in 1 week.
We had one up on Stevens Mill on Sunday morning about 6:45. Fire department didn't need us there, so we got up there to help the traffic. They said we're good, so we're not up there. So I don't have any information on that. Our warning carry green, so our detectives are on that.
All righty, agenda approval. Any additions or changes?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Mr. Ayers, second by Mr. Hall, all in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, Eunice, you're up. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, council. Let's get this rocking. Okay, so first up, I have a few items tonight, so I'll try to be quick. The Stallings Municipal Park budgeted playground replacement. So back in 23-24, the Parks and Rec Department put in the CIP $300,000 because there was 2 playground areas that needed to be replaced in the park. And what we decided to do, instead of putting the $300,000 in the 23-24 year, we split it up. And we decided to do it based on need. So the playground that y'all are familiar with in the very back section, that got replaced last fiscal year, had the grand opening for that. That took top priority because it was a huge safety concern. And this one is something, it's still outdated, however, didn't pose as big of a safety risk to the public. So we have the budgeted approved $150,000 sitting in there for this playground, but I wanted to be super transparent with you guys and show you what we would like to put there and get y'all's approval. So currently, this is what the playground looks like. This was before the phase project in 2012, so you're looking at a play area that's getting about 13 years of age on it currently. And really, it's just outdated. We can't get replacement parts for that playground that's fit, like when it gets broken. We've had a few issues with it. However, it's just kind of an underused space that we would like to get replaced. You can see right here, it takes up a really big area of the park, and we would like to maximize that space moving forward. We also have some site issues currently with it. It was built a little close to this tree. Nature kind of likes to take over, run its course, and it started to creep into the playground. So that is definitely a little bit of a safety concern for us that we would like to address with this new playground build. So what we are proposing is installing a new playground for the ages of 6 to 23 months. This is currently not an age that we have in the park for any play areas. And the playground comes a little bit under budget. And when I mean a little bit, I mean a few doll hairs short. However, pre-tax, you're looking at about $140,000. So here is the proposed new playground that would go in place. I did, before I get started on all these shade structures, the location is subject to change, just depending when they actually get on site, digging the dirt and making sure that they are gonna go exactly what this picture shows. So the play equipment has to stay there. However, I wanted to be super transparent that we won't have any more shade than this, but if it can't fit for that specific location, we'll either have to remove it or just adjust the location a little bit. And like I said, 6 to 23 months, that age is not served in the park currently. There's shade for adults and children. It'll be our first turf playground in the park, which is really nice because for those ages, you would rather have them crawling around on turf opposed to mulch. It's gated, which would be awesome again for that 6 to 23 month age group. And we really wanted just to make sure that parents were able to sit and watch their kids while we're there in the park. And probably my favorite part of it is this is something, I don't know if y'all have ever seen one of these. It'd probably be the first in the county. Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this swing is a parent can sit in front of their child and actually swing with them and interact with them while they're on the playground. So really, really cool. We're excited about it. And we just think this is gonna be a really good step forward. We currently have a sand pit in the playground. However, where it's located, it's not ideal. So our goal with that is to remove the one that we have and replace it here. Kids love that playground. However, it's a little close to the splash pad. We run into issues of people bringing the sand, dumping it in the splash pad, as well as when it rains, the current sand pit is on a slope. So it all runs out and we're spending a hefty fee to kind of replace that over there. So with that being said, I would like the council to approve this playground and we could move forward with the replacement in Stallings Municipal Park. Happy to answer any questions.
Can you go back to the picture?
Yeah, of course.
All that been design work yet? Or-
Yes, sir. So this is all design work. So this is exactly like we did with the first playground. It would look just like this. The only thing is the sage structures being in those exact locations.
Well, can we make it bigger?
So, no, yes, sir.
So to make it bigger,
Send me more money.
how much more?
It would depend on how big you want it. I mean, you give me some dollars and I'll keep stretching it. I would say to make it substantially larger, you're probably looking at $50,000 to $75,000.
A lot of little people.
Ballpark, how many kids and their adults playing?
Oh, gosh, that'll be hard. I guess it's like the parent to kid ratio could get a little,
Well, the thing is, it's age 6 to 23 months, so they're not gonna be running around a whole lot.
right. Yeah. I would say comfortably,
You're gonna have at least one adult for
yeah. I would say, more than 30 would be a crowd.
I guess we can expand it if we see
It would be expensive, I would say, in the future if you wanted to expand it, just because there is going to be this concrete curbing. There will be the fence, and it will be turfed. So it will be,
What's the size of that now, then?
I don't have the exact square footage. It would be, this design is based on how this is right now. Yeah, so I think we'd be a little bit limited if we wanted to kind of expand here.
Well, that picture's bigger than,
Exactly, yeah, this is probably not the best representation. Yeah, so it takes as much as,
I'll leave it alone then.
yeah,
What's that thing on the side, the smaller picture?
right here,
Part of
this.
it?
This is, yes, ma'am, yep, so this is kind of a different image of that area. It's just like a little playhouse, they can crawl under, shade, there's some sensory things in there, wheels they can spin, words they can touch, so, yeah, it's just, this is its own unit over here, and these were kind of added on pieces that we chose.
Still, gonna do a dino event this year?
So the spring spectacle, the theme will always change. So it'll never be the same. So spring spectacle, yes. Dino themed, unfortunately not.
That's still the biggest attended.
Yes, sir. As far as I've been here, I would say that has had the most attendance. Yeah, it was wild. Overwhelmingly. But any other questions? Yes, Graham. Yeah, so I would say the shade's definitely going to help with that. So that's why we're recommending keeping the shade on there. It can get warm. However, Waxhaw, they have artificial turf, and it's okay. It's definitely cooler than the poured-in-place rubber. So that's kind of what we were teetering back and forth. But nothing that would be dangerous to a child.
All right. So you're looking for approval?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So moved.
By Mr. Scholl to approve the, second by Laurie. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right.
All right, stay tuned. That'll be awesome. Thank you, guys. So next up, perfect. Thanks, Aaron, for putting this together. That was easy. This is some ordinance information. So the way that this is worded, I know it might sound a little tricky because the ordinance are not set in stone yet. However, it was easiest for us to come up with these, show the verbiage that we want, and then if you guys have any changes, we will bring that to the next council meeting in official ordinance form. So this is y'all just approving the verbiage for the Parks and Recreation ordinances. I'll be very transparent with you guys. These are rules that we have already enforced on our own. However, this has given us a leg to stand on if something were to happen. Like I said, nothing crazy's happened. Hopefully nothing happens in the future. You just never know. But these are just going to help the town be safe. And everything on here is pretty self-explanatory. If y'all would like me to walk through every single one, I am happy to. However, we can just kind of briefly go over it if y'all see something on there that is.
Anybody have any questions?
Are you saying that we don't have an ordinance right now regarding
The
the parks and?
correct, correct.
Okay. So this is not, we're not changing anything, we're adding.
Adding, yes,
Okay.
ma'am. And like I said, this is not going in place tonight. It would have to come back on the 27th and then get approved.
We have parks that pets are allowed.
Yes, sir, Blair Mill Park and Privet Park. Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, everybody okay with these rules and regulations? Motion then, please. Yeah, to approve this verbiage,
I thought,
and then she's got to bring it back. We can do a consensus or,
I move to approve the verbiage that, Ms. Donnelly has given us for the parks.
motion to approve this verbiage by Laurie, second by Mr. Ayers. All in favor? Ayes have it, all right. Thank you.
Thank you, council. And then the last thing, I don't have anything on the board to show you guys. This is just more of an update for the priorities and action strategies that you guys have tasked the Parks Department with targeting more Stallings citizens. So what we have done this year in honor of the 50th, we have really kind of boosted our programming efforts. That's something that when I started, the town kind of lacked on, and we really wanted to enhance that. So Tori has done a great job this past year, starting what is called the Golden Gatherings. They are quarterly events. They happen for adults 50 and up. And what they are, it's free to Stallings residents. However, we are charging a small fee for non-residents. How they will work, it's first come, first serve. It's online registration. We're doing everything from pickleball clinics to bingo. So it's a really cool thing that we're offering for the citizens this year, as well as all of our programs that are going to be online. They are going to be free to Stallings residents, small fee for non-residents, and they will be open a week prior for Stallings residents to fill those spots. If they fill up, they're capped out. Non-residents cannot get in there. We want to make sure that we are filling our programming efforts with Stallings residents. They're seeing their tax money at work. Because in the past, I will say we haven't been doing that, and we have a lot of out-of-town members who have taken the opportunities away from our residents. So we think this is a move in the right direction for the town and the community. If you guys know of anything else that you guys would like to see or better ways to reach your neighbors, please let me know. We're really heavy on social media. We're trying to branch out, but that's our bread and butter. So if y'all see a need somewhere, please let me know.
just a quick question. I mean,
Yeah.
so we do know that we have in the past blocked Stallings residents from being able to participate.
Mm-hmm.
My only concern would be is that we put this in play and then all of a sudden we see a hit to our overall activity numbers. That would-
Right. And if the spots don't fill up with Stallings residents, it gets open to the general public.
Okay.
But we want to make sure they're given an opportunity first.
Okay. Yep.
All right, any other questions for you?
Yeah. How are you going to make sure they're Stallings residents?
We have a software called RecDesk. So what they do is they make a membership online for free. You put in your address, and our software automatically knows if you live in town or not. So we don't have to deal with any of that. They just simple as putting your address, whether they put Matthews or Stallings, it knows. It knows where you live.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, council.
All right, Chief. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight I wanted to come and talk to you all about the creation of a temporary overhire position within the police department. We'll just talk about what an overhire is, the background, why we're asking funding, and some next steps. So what is an overhire? So really, we've kind of got a good problem here. We are at our, I hate to use the word full, but we are at our allocated level of 25 officers. But an overhire is a process of hiring employees over that number in anticipation that someone will eventually leave. So this overhire that the manager and I have talked about is temporary, and if we were to be approved, that extra position would be absorbed through attrition when someone were to leave. So as we started talking about this, since 2020, the police department has lost 24 officers due to either retirements, leaving voluntarily or involuntarily, which that averages out to about 4.8 officers a year. When I saw that number, I was like, wow, that's a lot of people to leave in a year or per year. So I reached out to my colleagues in the area, found out we're not really alone in this. Mint Hill averages 3 officers a year, Pineville 8, Matthews 4, and Monroe 3. So if that averages, comparing ours, that averages to 4.5 officers per year, leaving us and our surrounding agencies. Interesting though, as I was digging through all this material, I found this Bureau of Labor Statistics report that showed that 25 to 34-year-olds, which is really the age group that we're hiring new police officers at, only stay with an employer for about 2.7 years. So as much as I would love to get 30 years out of new police officers, the manager and I talked, and at one point he was like, if you get 3, you're doing pretty good. And I was like, I'd really like to get 30, but work in progress. So the benefits of having an overhire, provides some stability to the police department. Officers know if somebody leaves, we've got some buffer, some cost savings. Although it costs a little bit to bring them in, if someone leaves, we're not putting out overtime or paying overtime for officers to cover shifts. Employee well-being, officers get burned out or stressed out because they're having to pick up extra shifts or being called in, get denied time off, vacation time, that sort of thing. So having that extra position, even if a vacancy occurred, they kind of fold right back into a position. We're not having to try to randomly fill positions or fill patrol spots and calling people in on their days off. Recruitment and retention, again, kind of the same thing. They know that we're proactively trying to keep positions full. You know, we consistently talk to applicants about the support of the town, the support of the community, and trying to help boost morale when we bring people in. Right now, we have 2 police cadets that just started BLET last week. So the new BLET program in North Carolina is 6 months long. So they will graduate in 6 months, and then we've got 3 months of field training for them. So really, we have 9 months until a cadet is ready to be, I call it fully functional on their own, where we can trust them to go out by themselves and do the job that we need them to do. Funding, talked to finance. She said it would cost anywhere from $37,000 to $46,000 for the remainder of the fiscal year for an overhire. 37's on the cadet side, 46 is on the experienced officer side. But we do have some money in the budget. Finance said we have about $30,000 in unspent separation allowance, and the remainder of that salary would be covered from lapsed salaries from the vacancies we have and the fact that our cadets get paid much less than an entry-level police officer. So the funding would be there for the remainder of the fiscal year. Yes, ma'am.
But the cadets, are they going to school at the same time as working here?
So going to basic law enforcement training is a full-time job. They're in there, matter of fact, probably about 50 hours a week. So we hire them as cadets at a lesser entry rate, and then they go to school and we turn them over. Like the 2 we have now are at South Piedmont Community College. So that's their full-time job, is to go to school, learn, and study.
Not here.
They're not here, no ma'am.
Got it.
Sort of understaffed at the moment?
So technically, we are fully staffed, but actionable reasons or methods, we're down 2.
Could you explain that?
So we have an allocated staffing of 25 police officers. So all those positions are full right now. 2 of them are cadets, 1 of them's in field training. So our staffing on the street is 22 because our
Difference between sworn officers and patrol.
yes. So the 2 cadets are not sworn. So they can't carry a gun, they can't drive a police car, they can't wear a uniform.
We're not fully, I always thought fully staffed meant we're fully staffed with sworn officers. How, we're not?
So we have, all of our positions are filled, whether that's cadet or, we have 25 allocated positions. So because we have to send them to BLET and we have to pay them to go to BLET, that takes up an allocated position. Now, when they graduate, get sworn in, they go through field training and they get cut loose from field training. Then they're a fully functional police officer on what we call solo patrol. And and then one of our current officers, he's sworn in, but he's still in field training. He just got out of BLET, so he's made it through about the first half of his 3-month field training process. So we have 22 officers that work patrol, or are sworn in, can do it all on their own.
And we need 24.
Well, our,
to fill that shift.
yes. So, I'm asking that the council approve the creation of a temporary overhire position. Although we've already started asking questions, I'm more than happy to take any other questions that you have.
I'll ask again. to make
Yes,
it
sir.
official. Go ahead. It slipped while I made that stupid remark.
Graham?
So, would this overhire be someone we bring in?
So, actually, we have been in anticipation of this potential. We've been interviewing experienced police officers. We have one that he's submitted everything for his background, but I explained to him, this is a potential position. It's not even open. So we're not doing anything with his background investigation until it gets approved, if it were to get approved. So the one person we're looking at is an experienced officer. Well, we've talked about what the position is gonna look like, so. Well, we've not done, because it's not been approved, we've not drilled down too deep on it.
So you haven't hired that person?
We've not even done their background. They have submitted all their paperwork for their background investigation, but it's really it'd be kind of fruitless to go through all that. That's a couple weeks worth of work from a detective to do a background investigation if we were not gonna get authorization.
So if we're okay with this, then
We'll have a
tomorrow
background to start.
call them?
Yeah, I've already talked to the background investigator. He's just waiting for me to hand him the packet. So, yeah.
Questions? Yeah, no, I support this, but I do have a question. How
Yes,
many
sir.
times do officers get denied vacation due to staffing?
Well, so our minimum staffing is 2. So 1 supervisor, 1 patrol officer. That is our minimum. So we have, and I might give you the long trip around the barn on this, Mayor, so I apologize. So twice a year, we do department-wide meetings, and consistently they're saying, do we need to change minimum staffing to 3? A lot of the supervisors would rather have our minimum staffing be 3 versus 2. That just gives them more people to go do the job. I'm always open. I remind them, I said, okay, if we change minimum staffing to 3, that means a whole bunch of people potentially have the chance to be turned down for time off. Because we work this rotating 12-hour shift, the officer works 4 days one week, 3 days the next week, and because we have a minimum staffing of 2, we're not always having to turn people down. But when we start, and I'll go back maybe, I think it was about 2 years ago, when a week we lost 5 people. Well, then people were getting their time off denied. Recently, we've got some really good folks that have come in. We haven't had to turn down time off or training requests.
Sorry for another question, but it was the one I lost a minute ago. If we are paying a cadet to go through school, investing our money in it, what's to prevent him or her from, thanks, I'm going to wherever?
So, and this was, I give credit to Karen Reed in HR. We used kind of a paragraph in our town's training policy. And we have them, we've written up a little paragraph, and I have these cadets sign it, that it says, if I leave with less than a year, if I leave voluntarily, not involuntarily, I leave voluntarily less than a year, I will pay back. We spend about $5,000 to send them to BLET. That's uniforms, books, tuition, pre-employment testing. If they leave with less than a year, they'll pay back that full amount. I think it's $5,500. If they leave in 2 years, we cut it down to 75% of that. And if they leave with less than 3 years, it's 25%. And everyone so far has eagerly agreed to sign it. What happens when the rubber meets the road, we'll find out.
Righty. Thank you, Chief. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve the position as requested.
Mr. Shaw, second by Mr. Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Again, we thank you for your support. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Stevens Mill Greenway entrance gate. Brad.
Not sure this deserved an agenda item. I'm happy to bring it up. Alex suggested we bring it up. Mr. Scholl had a great idea for a safety measure at the end of the Blair Mill Creek Greenway, what do you call that? As you're approaching Stevens Mill, the fear was a runaway child on a bike could run into the street. The solution were 2 black gates. I walked my dog over there on a 6-foot leash. Thank you very much. Might have been 8, but and as I was approaching the park, my first time over there, the park looked closed. The barriers that are there give the impression the park is closed. My comment to Alex was, is that fixable? So that's the request tonight, is to have staff investigate ways to make that look more open and keep a safety measure in place. So it's pretty simple work, I think, and staff will probably report back to us on ideas. All right.
David, I meant to look at tonight.
I can see where it looks like it's closed. It does do a good job on the safety. I've had folks mention that they love the greenway. They were there with their grandkids and they like the fact that running through there. But it looks closed. That's not what we want either, so.
Everybody okay with staff looking into this, bringing us back some alternatives? Yep. All right. Okay,
Yep.
Alex.
Thank you. And Mayor, I spoke with Councilmember Wadowitz about the next item there, and she's given me her permission to briefly summarize the issue. So a resident, Mr. Kirby, brought up some concerns related to garage size and the issue of attachment. And so in looking at it, I believe we've got a loophole in our ordinance regarding those 2 issues. So with the board's permission, would like to get our planning staff to develop some fixes for those loopholes and bring those back to the board for your consideration. So is everybody comfortable with that?
Everybody okay?
All right, and that's
All right.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Laurie. Can I get a motion to go into closed session pursuant to NCGS 143-318.11A3?
And could we invite Mr. Mayor, Mr. Matt Dillard, as well as Mr. Max Shong?
Okay, let's include Matt and Max.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Ayers, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. All righty.
Sure. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kurt,
Kurt.
for coming out. Yes, sir.